I think that the community needs to know what's happening as far as this OEO report is concerned. I think they need to know that we've called for a congressional investigation of OEO and the reasons why they will not rescind the erroneous statements or will not have an open hearing on the question.
So you're saying we did not give enough information from your standpoint?
Well, I'm saying that these are absolute facts, whether, I think if any objective report should contain them. If you're going to mention the fact that there is an OEO report out, it should be mentioned that there's a rebuttal to that report. It should be mentioned that the report has been so severely called into question that a congressional investigation has been asked for. People need to know this.
As you purchase your ticket as a passenger on a major airline at Dallas Love Field or any other major airport in the United States, you have no way of knowing what's riding along in the luggage compartment with you. It might be radioactive materials, it might be ammunition, it might be highly flammable acid or corrosive materials.
It's estimated that 540,000 individual shipments of radioactive material were shipped by air last year, and 90% of that was shipped by passenger airplane.
Jim Eccles says that these pictures taken at an air freight loading dock in St. Louis show the kind of law violation that takes place daily in handling hazardous material. The law says radioactive material must be stored in piles of no more than 50 units and 20 feet apart at that. This dolly has approximately 106 units of radioactive isotopes. There is hazard as well in carrying small arms ammunition in the belly of passenger planes. The government calls a 20-millimeter shell small arms ammunition. An accidental spillage of radioactive material last New Year's Eve affected 917 people and 11 cities before it could be straightened out.
The National Transportation Safety Board, in their recent study on carriage of radioactive material by air, said that although the regulations appeared to be quite adequate, there's only 20 people probably in the whole country that understand them.
And so until the federal regulations are changed, until there are new laws, updated laws, the airlines will continue to have to carry such hazardous material as radioactive material, ammunition, acid, and the like. This is Malcolm Landis for Channel 8 News on the Move.
The Dallas Community Action Board meets this evening to work out the last few requirements of the Office of Economic Opportunity in order to continue receiving funding from the federal government. But board member Stanley Gaines, who is also chairman of the Target Area Coordinating Committee, is unhappy. He feels the OEO is being dishonest in its report.
First of all, the OEO report contained a number of falsehoods. You take, for example, the statements that were made concerning conflict of interest. OEO had issued rulings stating that there was no conflict of interest prior to the report.
The director of Region 6 of the Office of Economic Opportunity is Mr. Samuel Martinez. He says Stanley Gaines' opinion is his own.
I guess Stanley Gaines can say what his opinions are regarding the report. We had an objective review of the agency's operations by a 17-member team that I thought did a very objective and thorough review of the operation.
The OEO feels that Stanley Gaines himself created a conflict of interest in that he had his hands in so many pies. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Happened to fail to make the club if we'd have the first shot at him. That hadn't been determined as far as I know. I think both of these young men started playing much better as the season went on last year. I think the fact that George is the biggest player that was drafted, it takes away a prospective center starter for us, and Simi, I think, has as much talent as most any player in the league. But naturally, when you can only freeze 6, somebody has to go, and there wasn't anything we could do about it.
You feel both George and Simi will make the roster of 12, therefore you won't get another crack at them?
Well, let's say this. There are 18 people involved. Their coaching staff's going to look at them. They're going to judge them on the merits that each one has according to whether they'd be good for a fast break club, whether they would be good for a pressing ball club. K.C. Jones, I'm sure, will stress defense, so I think its speed is going to have a lot to do with it.
No, not from the club standpoint. I don't think they had anything to do with me coming back. Everybody felt that I should, and they all wanted me to come back. But I personally had to get everything straight at home and in my mind before I thought I could come back and even think about playing football. You know, I was going out there, but I didn't feel like I was there. I was thinking about other things. You know, now I just feel, you know, it's straight football and that's it.
It'll still be kind of nice to get out of this kind of environment, though, to get the training camp behind you, won't it?
Yeah, it's there's nobody out here you know. I just, except for the players. I like the players, but it's kind of hard to just sit around and look at guys every day.
You sound like a guy who's anxious to get back to Dallas.
Very much, very much.
Rodney, have you set now that you're back in camp any personal goals? This is a cliche question, but do you want to aspire to a starting spot this year, or will you be satisfied just to learn a bit by bit?
No, nobody'd be satisfied just to sit back and learn. I'd like to start, but when you have two guards like Nyland and Nye, it's awfully hard, So I'll do my best to do everything I can to start. And as a goal, I'd like to be an all-pro guard someday. And that's my major goal.
Is there any chance that at 260 or maybe even 265 you could go to tackle?
Possibly. I haven't really talked to anybody about it, but if opportunity arose, I'm sure I'd jump at it.
Tomorrow night, the diving exhibition will consist of a complete progression of competitive springboard dives. Divers will begin with the basic or the required dives in competition and work progressively to the most difficult. And all of these divers will perform the most difficult dives listed in competition from all the levels, including the high 10-meter platform.
What is the most difficult dive? The one that looks simple or the one where you go through a lot of gyrations?
That's a very good question. The twisting dives, as pleasing as they are to the eye and as difficult as they appear to the layman, are not frequently the most difficult dive to execute for the diver. Usually a backward spinning dive, such as a backward 2.5 somersault, or a reverse spinning dive where the diver runs forward and spins backward 2.5 times, is difficult because you cannot see the water. There's nothing to see. And those are the most difficult to execute, although not particularly the most appealing.
I, at this particular time, would say definitely not, that they shouldn't be forced out of business. However, they should be encouraged to meet or fulfill the regulations as they are put forth. However, our regulations are somewhat outmoded, no doubt, as that is in accordance with our present standards. But the importance of their particular product to the community, to the state, to the nation, or internationally may be one reason definitely that they should not be forced out of business.
One of the main features of this show will be to feature the fleet of Tora movie aircraft in which we will reenact the bombing of Pearl Harbor.